Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Jones from Designs and Machine Embroidery, and I am filling in for Eileen today. So I'm excited to be here with you, and so thankful that Eileen allowed me to present today. And we also have a special guest I'll talk to you in a bit about. But I wanted to see where you guys are watching from. So if you haven't found the chat already, tell us over there in the chat. We love to hear where you're watching from, and tell us what you've been working on lately. So today we are going to be talking about In the Hoop. Reen is going to talk about stitching an In the Hoop project that requires no sewing whatsoever. She is the master of In the Hoop projects, and I bet the majority of you guys have probably stitched a design or two from Reen. And so she's going to show you how to stitch that, but we're also going to talk about personalizing In the Hoop designs. A lot of times we get this question where we don't know where to place the design in order for it to stitch in the correct order. So we're going to talk about that. And actually, Reen's instructions are really good for helping with that. We'll talk more about that as well. But she's going to talk about some tips along the way as she's stitching. We're going to talk about, she's got some materials that she selected. So she's going to talk about the best ones to work with, but also how to get a professional finish. She's also got some other tips that are really awesome just for, making sure that everything is going to stitch out well. So you guys are going to love this. So I would love to welcome Reen on the screen from Embroidery Gardens. She is our guest here today. So, hey, Reen, how are you today?
I'm great, Ashley. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I am so thankful that you joined me on this topic because, I think of you as the queen of In the Hoop. The first In the Hoop project I ever did whenever I started In the Hoop projects was one of your designs years ago, a lot of years ago, Reen.
Great.
And since then, you have really become like the leader in the Hoop design kind of part of our industry. You have come up with so many different things that you can do in the hoop, but also you are now doing things through the hoop. I know of a design particularly that I was fascinated how you figured out to do a boxed corner of a bag of a little what am I trying to say? Like a little catch-all bag in the hoop. So, Reen, I bet everybody out there knows who you are and has heard of Embroidery Gardens, but just in case there is someone that is new, do you want to tell them a little bit more about you and how you got started with Embroidery Gardens?
Sure. So I'm Reen Wilcoxson, owner of Embroidery Garden. I've been doing this for about over 20 years now. I just went into a store, saw an embroidery machine, and basically I told the guy, put it in my car. I bought the software, I bought everything. I'm basically self-taught. And, after a few years, I thought I'm going to try to start selling some of my designs. I saw everybody else doing it, but I started out with applique, and then In the Hoop came along, I don't know, a few years later.
Yeah. And, an applique, I think, is like probably a first step, because one of the things that I'm going to talk about today, it is kind of an applique that I've adapted to be a freestanding one, which is certainly an In the Hoop project for sure,
Right.
By our definition for today. So, but I think that's pretty cool. I did the same thing that you did. Well, I actually went to the store for a sewing only machine, and left the store with my first embroidery machine, and yes, software too. And all these years, everybody out there that has seen me knows that I cannot live my embroidery life without my software. I use it to do so many different things. It helps in so many different ways. And so I agree with you, Reen. It was a great start to what became both you and I like a really awesome and fun career, right?
Right. I mean, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
Yeah, me either. I agree. It's definitely more fun than being in an office, that's for sure. So we've got people from all over. Reen, I saw Canada as I was scrolling through. I also saw the Netherlands, which is
Wow.
really awesome. And then I did also see Retha Ranke. She's a frequent flyer here. Thanks for joining, Retha. She said she watched both of us on Hoop Fest. Reen and I were presenting on a different channel yesterday. And so thanks for joining us over there too, Retha. We really appreciate the support for sure. Yeah, so Reen, give us a little kind of a set us up for what you're going to be talking to us about today.
Okay, so today I'm going to be stitching this little in the hoop bag. It's a 5x7. I'm going to be using my tin needle. I think a lot of people don't really think about doing in the hoop on a multi-needle machine, but I'm gonna do it. And I'm going to give you some tips for using a multi-needle machine. And I edited this design. The design that I used on here is from the Hand Sketch Floral Collections, which is a collaboration with Dime that I did. But I had to edit it because all the designs in the set are 5x7. The bag is 5x7, so I had to take a few things out. But I'm ready to get started stitching the bag if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just monitor if we've got questions. Anybody, make sure that you ask over in the chat. I will watch for the question while Reen's talking you through this process. This is a really good time to get answers directly from Reen and I. So if you've got them, ask over in the chat. So, okay, Reen, go right ahead.
Okay, so I've hooped my stabilizer. And, sometimes if you do have a multi-needle machine, you know that the stabilizer doesn't really stay really tight in the hoop. But the 5x7, it's not that bad. You start getting into the bigger hoops, the longer hoops, the stabilizer, it doesn't stay nice and tight. You see some people wrap tape and things around the hoop to get it to stay tighter. Well, I use these pins, and they're little T-pins, and I put them through the stabilizer and have the head of the T-pin cross over the outer and the inner hoop. And that keeps the stabilizer nice and tight. So if you're pressing down on it, it's not going to move. We're going to be going to the back side of the hoop a lot. It just keeps the stabilizer nice and tight. You also notice I have an X on the front of my hoop. And that's because it's very easy to get turned around when you're taking the hoop off the machine. A lot of times when you're doing in the hoop designs, you're going to the back side. Sometimes you might get your hoop turned around. So I marked the front edge so that I know it always has to be facing towards me. So I did go ahead and stitch the first two steps. The first step, stitch 2 long parallel lines. That gave me my placement for my zipper. I put the zipper down face up, and I just put a piece of tape on both ends, stitched the next step, which stitched the zipper down to the stabilizer. So now we don't have to worry about our zipper moving.
And the stabilizer, what stabilizer are you using in the hoop, Reen? We've already got a question about that from Sharon Crin.
This is Dime's like your no-show mesh. Yeah, it's just that I use that in basically all of my bags now.
And I definitely agree. It's really soft and light, so it doesn't add bulk, and it's going to remain in the bag forever in the hoop project, right, Reen?
Right, it stays in. So
Awesome.
the next step in this design is to work on the back side. So of course I'm going to use one of my hoop and press pads. This is the 5x7. We'll talk about hoop and press pads a little bit later on, but I'm just going to place it down. And what I like about it too is it has this non-slip surface on the back. So I put it down and it's not going to move. So I'm going to take my hoop, turn it over, and now I have the hoop and press pad underneath, and I can work on the back side of my hoop. This hoop and press pad is giving me support underneath here. So when I take my first piece of fabric, which is a lining piece, and it needs to go right side down, and I'm lining it up with the bottom edge of the zipper, I need to tape it in place. And with the hoop and press pad underneath, I can really press down on my tape to get it to adhere well. It really doesn't matter what type of tape you use. You have to be able to press down to adhere any tape. So I'm able to press down without pushing my stabilizer. The next step is to go to the front side of the hoop and take my next piece of fabric, which would be the front part of the bag underneath the zipper. I'm going to place it right side down, line it up with the edge of the bottom edge of the zipper. And I am going to tape that in place. Just a couple of pieces of tape. I will say right off the bat, I don't use my multi-needle that often, so could get a little entertaining here.
Hey, we love entertainment, Reen.
So let me go ahead and get this on the machine. Make sure that's back there, and go ahead and stitch the next step.
And so, Reen, while that's stitching, we have a couple of questions about those T-pins. And so, are those T-pins required for a multi-needle?
I don't know if the machine is too loud. You'll have to.
Yeah, it is a little bit, but I think it's probably already done, right? So we're good.
Right, that step is done. The T-pins, again, they're not required, but if you own a multi-needle machine, you will find that sometimes the hoop doesn't hold the stabilizer really nice and tight. Again, like I said, the 5x7, it's not too bad in the 5x7, but you start getting into the longer hoops, the stabilizer really starts to slip sometimes, and we are, taking it off the hoop or taking it off the machine and going to the backside. We're flipping it, we're pressing on it, etc. So that's why I like to put the little T-pins in.
And Nan Key asked about what kind of T-pins are those. So I'm assuming, Reen, you just use, any T-pin that you're getting from your local quilt shop. They generally will have those T-pins there. You might be able to find them at other places as well. So she's going to hold one up there. Right. Yes. Perfect.
So,
yeah,
so it's a really strong pin, and it has that T shape up there at the top.
And the T kind of makes a crossbar across the hoop. You can see that in her image there. That's actually a crystal clear image of that. But I have to say, Reen, I sometimes do this on my single needle on my gigantic hoops, like right in that center part of those really long straight edges. It's beneficial if you're hooping stabilizer only. Right. Sometimes thin slippery items as well. So I love that. It's a great tip.
And if you're doing freestanding lace and you're putting a lot of lace designs in, these pins are really going to help, because a lot of freestanding lace has a lot of stitches in it, and it really starts to pull on the stabilizer. So
great point. So, and then I know you're about to talk about that next step, and so we have a question about the zipper size. What size zipper, and can you use a number 4.5 or a 5? And so once you're done talking about your next step, tell us a little bit about the zipper choice.
Okay, so now I take a piece of batting and I'm lining it up with that seam that's stitched, and I'm going to bring the fabric down over top, and I'm ready to stitch the next step. I do want to take this down. Normally, sometimes I might hold it, but with this tin needle, I really don't want to get my fingers in there. Because
we don't want that kind of excitement on the live today.
Right, been there, done that, been bitten before.
And Kirsten Swanson, so not only the zipper, but Kirsten Swanson, our friend over at embroidery.com, she asked about the design you're using. So maybe tell a little bit more about that as well.
So the design that I'm using, it's part of the In the Hoop zippered bag set that I have that has 11 different sizes of bags in it. This is just the 5x7 size. Were you able to hear me?
Yeah, and actually, once you started talking, Reen, it actually focused on your voice, and the machine was actually a little further in the background.
Oh, okay. But to get to the zipper, I used a number 3 zipper by the yard. That's just my preference. I just love how the zipper by the yard looks. It looks like it's metallic, doesn't it? Or a metal zipper, but
It
it's not.
does.
It's actually a faux metal zipper. And you can
Nice.
use a number 5. I've personally done lives that show you how to use a number 5 when the design is set for a number 3 zipper. If you don't know
Yes.
the difference, a number 3 is about an inch wide. A number 5, it's about an inch and a quarter wide.
And the teeth too are a little larger on the number 5 zipper, it seems like to me. So I always
Right.
just check if my pattern calls for a number 3. I usually will advance my stitches that tack down my zipper if I'm not 100% sure. I'll just advance through those stitches, just make sure my foot's going to clear the teeth of the zipper. But like you just said, Reen, it looks metallic, but it's actually a nylon zipper. And so, and you choose that because here, as you're stitching, and you actually will, in the end, stitch over the top of the zipper to actually complete the bag, correct?
That's right. So now the next few steps is just going to be stitching the design out. So I'll probably mute my machine while it's stitching, and Ashley can go over basically how you can easily edit these designs in the Dime software.
That's perfect. So, Reen, and before I have one more question on the T-pins before I go over and show those designs. So, Sharon said, did you say the T-pins go between the 2 hoops, but it's actually not between them? Do you want to give a little bit more description of that?
All right, you know what? I have another hoop here that is, this is something I was doing yesterday, but this is a standard hoop, but
Right.
you know, it's the same principle. So I just take a pin. I've got my stabilizer hooped. The stabilizer is between the inner hoop and the outer hoop. And I just take a pin, stick it through, kind of bring it back, and have the head of the pin, the T part, so that now it's over the inner part of the hoop. And if you look underneath the stabilizer, it's over the outer part. So that just really keeps it nice and tight in there. And I would go around and put them all around the hoop.
Yeah, love that. That's actually a very good crystal clear image. So thank you for that. So I think that for sure answered her question. Okay, so while you're stitching, Reen, I'll go over and talk about editing that design. So let's bring up my software and we'll see. So here's the design that Reen used. And like she said, she was stitching on her 5x7 bag, and the 5x7 would not accommodate this entire design. So using our embroidery tool shed perfect embroidery pro features is what I use. But if you have the ability in any of your Dime software, if you can ungroup, that's the key thing that you need. And so right now the design is ungrouped already, but I'll group it to show you what I mean. So right now, when I click and move this design around, it's not letting me select individual pieces. Most all of Dime software, but not every one, but most all of them have the group and ungroup, just like this. And that will allow you to delete by color. So you can see that it has broken up my design here by color steps. And so I can actually select an entire color and just press the delete on my keyboard. Now, I'm not able to do this with the black, which is actually encompasses some of these other parts of the design, but I'll show you how I do that. So I usually just delete what I can. So she just left one flower. So I'm going to delete that smaller blue flower here. And then we also wanted to delete the yellow as well. So I'm going to leave this blue flower, this green stem, and this black leaf here. But notice that all of this is connected. So I can't just select one whole color over here. If I do, it will then delete everything black, and I don't want that. So what I need to do is just, as it's ungrouped, you can see how it'll let me select different parts and pieces. So you can click and drag a box around it. Just make sure that you don't accidentally drag a box around something you want to keep. And you can hide or either lock the things that you want to keep that you know you can. So I can lock them and it won't let me accidentally delete. But I can't lock all of this black area that I want to keep, because I need to delete some of it. But notice when I select, it will let me just press the delete on my keyboard to select quite a few at one time. So I just go through and delete. And if you get it in the order, and I don't just spend the time to look this up, but a lot of times you'll see it when I get down here to this one. I noticed when I was deleting this the other day. If you are selecting and deleting, and it sometimes pops up around that extra area, and I know that's an area that I can delete, I just keep pressing the delete on my keyboard. So like here, you can see that it's popping around this flower automatically. I'm actually not clicking, and I'm just pressing the delete on the keyboard. And that's really, it's happening in the sequence order is why it's doing that. It's going to the next, after you delete something, it goes to the next stitch automatically. And if it's not one that I want to keep, then I just press the delete. I don't have to even click to select anything. You can see my mouse is up here kind of out of the way. And so here, when I select this, you can see it jumps right to that next location, and I just delete those areas. And the same thing applies with this. So if I click here and then there, and you can see then it goes right to these little leaves here, and I just press the delete on my keyboard a bunch of times, and it's just removing it. So if you have the ungroup as part of your Dime software, then you can certainly do this as well. Now for this part here, the gray, I'm going to do an undo because I accidentally moved it. These actually are one applique. Now this, you do need a little bit different feature, but you see here over my sequence view, it says that this gray is actually one applique. So in order to delete just one of them, I have to do this breakup option, and then that'll allow me to select just this piece over here and then press the delete on my keyboard. So we were left with this, and I need to unlock. When you lock something, not only will it not let you edit it, but it won't even let you copy and paste it. So if you're ever fighting with your software and you know that you are copying and pasting, but it's not doing anything, make sure everything is unlocked. So I'm going to just do my copy here, and then I'm going to go over to the zipper bag and push paste. And whenever I paste this, you can see that it fits nicely on this bag. Now, if you do need to resize it, which it does look like I could probably rotate it and get most of it to fit in here, but you can resize as well. So let me go up here, and I'm back in my sequence view, and I'm going to select the pieces here. And then I'm going to group those together so I don't accidentally separate them again. And I could always resize it just slightly to make sure it fits within that area. So this is the zipper bag that Reen's working on. So when you're doing in the hoop projects, a lot of times it is a bunch of run stitches like you see here. And the slow redraw option in Dime software will let you watch it stitch out on the screen. So that's the zipper placement there and the zipper tack down. And then it does the fabric tack down. And then it's going to allow you to flip that out and tack it down. Notice everyone's a different color so that your single needle machine stops. And you want to place this stitch out so that it stitches in the correct order. And in Reen's bag that she's working on, she just showed you this step where she placed down the zipper, and I'll fast forward through this. And then she puts her zipper down, it tacks it down, and then you're going to place your fabric right side down, and that line actually tacks down the that piece of fabric for the bottom. And then when you flip it out, this box is actually tacking that down so that it stays out of the way. And so you want your design to go right after that tack down. And then you've got your design ready to stitch. As soon as it tacks it down, then it's going to actually do your design, your personalization for your bag, and then you're ready to just move on with the rest of the bag like normal. Now, I know for a fact, because I use Reen's designs all the time, I know for a fact that she actually will give you the instructions in her printed designs of where to place this, which is invaluable because it's not always intuitive to know. But that's how we edited that design there and added it to the bag. Now, Reen, I think she's almost done stitching, but while she's finishing that up, let me see if there are any other questions that we need to address here. And so it looks like she's actually almost done over there. So if you're using a single needle machine, Susan A says, can you use the magnetic hoop and not use the T-pin? So yes, you can use your magnetic hoop if you like. Whenever you're hooping just stabilizer, then I a lot of times will use those T-pins even with my magnetic hoop to keep your stabilizer from pulling through. The thing that happens is the machine, when it's stitching and pushing on your stabilizer, standard hoop or magnetic hoop, when you only have stabilizer in there, it might pull through and then make your stabilizer loose. Wouldn't you say, Reen?
Right. Definitely.
And so it looks like you've got your flower part stitched. And so what's our next step on our bag, Reen?
All right, let's go back to the machine. I see Anne's asking about how do you center the flower on the bag. I think Ashley kind of went over that. But so this bag does have a little applique on it, and I did use HTV glitter. Since Diane's been doing their events with showing the HTV and designs, it's just really so cute. You see it sparkle right there. And all I did after it did the tack down, basically, you could just pull this away. You got to be careful because these are raw edge applique designs, and there are I think it's like a triple stitch that goes around there, but still be careful.
Yeah.
Another great use for hoop and press pads is when you're doing applique, you always want to press from the back side. So I'm going to turn my hoop over, put it on the hoop and press pad, and I'm going to grab my little iron and just press from the back side. And the reason you want to press from the back side is your adhesive is on the back of your applique fabric. And when you press from the back side, it's kind of drawing that adhesive up into your base fabric. So the hoop and press pads are great for when you want to do applique.
That's a great tip. I love that.
And I'm just taking this tape off because I don't need it, because our next step is to fold this piece down. And again, I'm going to press. So I got my hoop and press pad underneath there. And, this is one of the whole reasons why I created hoop and press pads, is so you can press while you're in the hoop. It's so important because now I have a nice, flat, crisp seam there, and it's going to make my lining fabrics lay so nicely when my bag is finished. I'm going to go ahead and tape that down. Next step would be to put this lining fabric right side down, lined up with the top edge of the zipper. And again, hoop and press pad is underneath there, so I can make sure that I press down on my tape really well to get it to adhere well. Now I need to go to the front side of the hoop. And the hoop bags are just so fun to make. I'm going to take my next piece of fabric. It's going to go right side down with the edge even with the top edge of the zipper. And I am going to tape that in place again, just because I'm working on the multi-needle. Normally, I might not tape it down on the front side, but I'm not going to get my fingers too close. Put it back on the machine. You kind of want to sometimes look behind to make sure everything is where it should be. And we're going to see the next step.
Anne is asking if you used any interfacing on your outside fabric.
I did. And what I used was SF 101. I used SF 101 quite a bit, just because, cotton fabric is, it gives a little bit more body. I just like the feel of the finished bag when using it.
Yeah, and I agree. It definitely adds a little more stability to just your quilting cottons. I like that. So, and then Jennifer Armstrong says, on Reen's Designs, do you need software? And that is a no. Reen gives you all formats for all popular embroidery machines, and you just load it on your embroidery machine, and it's ready to stitch out, right, Reen?
That's right.
And if you are centering a design, this will add an additional detail to Anne's other question about centering the design. I'll go back and show what I did in the software and to make sure that I'm centered. But one thing you can do with a design is when you stitch Reen's bag, you're not going to move that around in the hoop. And so when you bring that up on the screen, most embroidery machines have the ability to merge designs together. I usually, when I merge a design, I don't move it left to right. I would just move it down to make sure that it was in the right part in the body of the bag. But if you don't move it left to right, then it usually comes into your machine centered already.
Right.
So, okay, what you got there, Reen?
Well, a piece of batting. The next step is to place the batting. Even with that seam that just stitched, pull this fabric up. And at this point, I could press it again. I could put my hoop on my hoop and press pad, just use it as a little pressing pad by my machine. Another thing that I've started doing is instead of using batting, like warm and natural batting or something like that, I started using the foam, So Many Shape foam from Dime. I really like how it adds a lot of body to the bags. It gives them a lot of structure.
Yeah, I love that too. And the example I'll show, Reen, whenever I go under my camera has the foam in it.
And I've even used the foam in a 5x7 bag before, and it wasn't, it wasn't hard to turn. So
that's good to know.
Good to know.
Yeah, for sure. And so we have a couple of other questions and comments here. Candace says she's loving the tips. My granddaughters will love what Grandma creates for her. I think that's pretty cute, right? And then our friend Stephanie Young says she loves the HTV with it. Can you could you have guessed that for sure, right?
Yeah, it adds so much sparkle to the
It
design.
definitely does. So, and you can't get any fabric with that kind of sparkle. And then Lorraine Strong says she loves Reen's flower designs. They're so versatile, and I definitely agree. And Reen, you've used them in so many cases as well.
Right.
That design collection that you're working with. So, and then we do have a question from Karen that says, how thick is the foam? Karen, I don't have an exact measurement, but I mean, I would say, it's a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch probably. And so it's a lightweight foam, and it's embroidery friendly, which is why we brought it in for embroidery. And because it is a little bit thinner, it still gives you the structure and the support, but it works great in your embroidery designs like Reen is talking about now. So, okay, Reen, so where are you now and what's your next step?
All right, so now it's time to go to the back side again. So of course I'm going to use my hoop and press pad. I need to take this lining piece that just got stitched on, and it's going to get folded up. So if I'm going to fold up a piece, I'm going to press it while I've got it in the hoop. Because notice if you just took this and just folded it up and taped it, you have a little bubble. And, being able to press it in the hoop eliminates that. Gives you a nice flat seam.
I love that.
So let me just tape this up so we make sure that it doesn't move. And while we're still on the back side, the next step, let me turn the hoop a little bit so you can see better. Right here is where the zipper is. And it's just a piece of stabilizer over the zipper right there. We need to trim this out now so that we have access into our bag. And with the hoop and press pad underneath, it allows me to take my scissors, and I like to use these little tiny scissors with sharp points, and I can pierce that stabilizer. And with the hoop and press pad underneath there, I'm not going to go down so far that I'm going to cut my zipper. That happens to a lot of people. They accidentally cut the zipper, and you can see that I just took my scissors and just kind of glided them along. I wasn't like snip, snip, snip. Once I have my scissor underneath that stabilizer, I can basically just run them right along that end and remove
Kinda
it.
like you're cutting wrapping paper, right? Whenever we
Right.
slide our scissors through there, that's a good point. And then if you cut that zipper, Reen, do you have any tips, or do we have to start over?
That is pretty much a do-over.
Uh-oh.
If
So don't do that. Of all the
Yeah,
things
that's
that you
pretty
do,
much a
don't do that.
do-over. There's
Uh,
actually
uh,
only 2 more steps left on the bag.
hey, this is brutally honest between friends today, so you gotta start over if you cut through the zipper. I love that.
There are times that people cut the pull off, they
Yep,
don't move it to the center, which is what we're gonna do right now. But,
yep, another really
I've
good
been
tip.
able to get the pull back on,
Yeah,
but you cut the zipper, that's kind of,
yeah. Not
disastrous.
much not much we could do. And then, can you mention that interfacing again? So Jewel Brown, I don't think she heard, the interfacing. You said it was SF, what?
101.
Okay,
So basically, you see it here on the backside of the fabric. It just adds a little bit of body. It's a single-sided interfacing. It's not
interfacing.
stabilizing, it's interfacing.
Gotcha. And then Joy Anthony says, "Why'd you put batting at the top but not at the bottom?" But you did put batting at the bottom.
I did.
Maybe we, yeah, maybe Joy that we just went too quickly or something. But there is batting underneath both the top and the bottom. And whenever Reen gets to it, Reen, you'll have batting on the back as well. So the whole
Right.
outside of the bag will have batting in it, right?
Right. And that's what we're doing right now. So I'm taking this piece of fabric, which actually ends up being the back side of the finished bag, placing it right side down. I did unzip that zipper halfway, don't forget.
Yeah.
Placing that there, taking another piece of batting, smoothing it all down. It's going to go back on the machine, and it's just going to do a short seam to attach these two pieces. It's just attaching it down there at the bottom. I know when my machine moves, the camera has to kind of refocus.
Yeah, it's picking up, yeah, the movement. But when you're done, it's like crystal clear, Reen. So I think that's good. And then while that's stitching, Jennifer Armstrong says, just to make sure on Reen's designs, it will work on a 5x7 hoop single needle embroidery machine. I am a beginner on embroidery. So Reen, I'm not sure if she's talking about the bag or if she's talking about the actual floral design. So do you want to talk about both of those and the 5x7 hoop?
Yeah, I think what she means is, can you do this on a regular standard hoop? I just happen to be using a multi-needle right now because we wanted to show, that you can do it on a multi-needle machine, give you the few tips that I gave you about the pins and marking the front and using the multi-needle hoop and press pads. We do have them for multi-needle machines. And the designs, let me just pull this down. That flower design on the front is edited like Ashley showed you. It's a 5x7 design, and those work on any machines. As long as you have a machine with a 5x7 hoop or larger, you can stitch these designs out.
Perfect. So yeah, great explanation. And yes, these designs are embroidery files. So they work on any embroidery machine that will read an embroidery file. And so if you're working on a single needle machine or a multi-needle machine, Reen gives you all the formats. Like she said, she's just showing single needle just to add some versatility. We don't do this very often on multi-needles. So I actually love that she's showing this. It definitely shows that versatility. So okay, Reen, what's our next step?
You can't do in the hoop on a multi-needle machine. So, just kind of showing that you can. Our very last step, go to the back side again and put our lining fabric down, right side down, back side the hoop. I am going to tape it in place and stitch the very last step. I think that I'm going to mute my microphone as it's stitching, just so that it's not real noisy here. But the hoop and press pads underneath, so I'm able to get this fabric taped down really well. We all know that when you're putting that fabric on the back side of the hoop, that you have to keep it there because you you take your hoop back to the machine after adhering a piece, and a lot of times it's fallen off. I know that's happened to everyone. It's happened to me too. So
yeah, absolutely. So
that's
okay.
Get it adhered well, and the hoop and press pad helps you do that. So I
Yes.
started, and then I'll go ahead and mute my microphone so you
Sounds
don't hear
good.
all the noise.
Perfect. And so I'll just answer a couple of questions here while Reen is muted. And so one of the questions I saw was about the multi-needle snap hoop monster. And so Judy Cushing about the snap hoop monster on the top or the bottom. So what she's referring to, I wish I had grabbed one of mine. It's actually over there. When Reen comes back, I'll maybe step away to grab it. But the multi-needle snap hoop monster, that magnet can go on the top or on the bottom. And if you are working with a tubular item, you want to put that magnet on the bottom because it's going to be then inside of your tubular item. So like a shirt or a bag, for instance, if you put the metal frame on the outside and the magnet on the inside of your bag or your shirt, it will allow that to hang down correctly in your multi-needle machine, which has that tubular area underneath the needles. If you are quilting on your embroidery machine, your multi-needle embroidery machine, I usually put my magnet on the top of the hoop. And so on the multi-needle hoops only, I can't say this enough. I do not want you guys to get the wrong idea. On the Snap Hoop Monster multi-needle only, you can use the magnet on the top or the bottom. And I'll grab one and show that under my camera. So I think Reen is finished with her stitching. So Reen, go ahead and talk about that next step. And then I will step away and grab that hoop so I can show.
Okay, sounds great. So it is finished. Took it off the machine. I do need to take my little pins out. And again, these aren't required. It just helps to keep that stabilizer nice and tight. And it does work really well with some of the larger hoops. But I wanted to show it with the smaller hoop, just so you get an idea of what you can do, because I know some people struggle with that. So I'm going to take it out of the hoop, set this aside. So now the first thing I like to do is trim my batting, or if I had used foam, close to this final stitching. And I can use my big scissors or my little scissors, doesn't matter. But I like to trim the batting only away, because what that does is it gets the batting out of the seam line and the corners, so that when you go to turn your bag, you're just able to push your corners out a little bit nicer, a little bit easier without this extra batting in there. So after I do that, I need to find the opening, which is on the back side. It's right here. This is where we're going to turn it. I always go to the back side to trim, because you have to leave it longer at the opening. If you don't, then you don't have anything to turn in to hide the opening. So I always start at the opening, leave it longer there. And now I'm going to just trim the bag like a 1/4 inch all the way around the corners. This bag has rounded corners. Another tip I like is when you get to the zipper ends, I like to go around those, because I like to leave my zipper ends a little bit longer, not cut them short at that 1/4 inch, but I do cut them down a little bit. I might leave them a 1/2 inch. And the reason I do that is, have you ever had a bag that you made and you're opening it, you're closing it, and you're putting a lot of stress on that zipper, and then it starts to kind of pull away from the seam? It'll help if you leave the tail a little bit longer.
Oh, that's a great tip.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be too long, but leave it a little bit longer.
I love that tip. Very good. So Reen, while you're cutting, we had 2 questions on the needle. So Patricia and Mercedes asked about what needle you're using to go through all 3 layers there. Well, it actually winds up being more than 3 layers after you put the backing on.
Right.
But you want to talk about your needle that you chose and the size?
Basically, I use 7511 needles. This is the multi-needle, so I'm not sure exactly the name of the needle, but it's still about this, the size, the 7511. The only time I go up to a bigger needle, an 8012 or maybe a 9014, is if I'm using, instead of cotton fabric, if maybe I'm using a faux leather or cork or something a little bit thicker.
Okay, awesome. That's a great explanation. So we learned last week how important the needle choice is for your for your
Right.
project. So okay, go ahead, Reen. We got a couple more questions, but I'll let you finish this part. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's the opening. The stuff that's behind the opening, all these layers, don't need those. That's just added bulk. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. And you should probably go on these rounded corners and just clip into them a little bit. What that does is it helps relax these corners so that when you go to push it out, the fabric pushes out, nicer.
Nice and crisp. Absolutely.
Makes it easy. And then all we're going to do is reach in, and I like to go to a far corner. A lot of people like to reach in and like try to get, this little corner out first. And, you're taking
harder.
Yeah, it makes it harder. And you're also taking a chance of ripping your opening. So I always go to a far corner first.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. And then Jennifer Hoffman that was asking about the 5x7 single needle, she clarified and she said she's wondering about the hoop size requirements for the project. And so the design that Reen is doing right now is an in the hoop project from her zipper bag collection. And it does have the 5x7 option in there. It even has a 4x4 in that set too, right, Reen?
Right. And they go all the way up to 9.5 by 14 inches in this particular set. I do bags and designs for all hoop sizes out there.
Right. And the floral design that we're using, all of those designs, even if you don't edit them, will fit in a 5x7 hoop. We just edited this one because we were needing it smaller to fit on the front of the bag. Even though we're working in a 5x7 hoop, it needed to fit on the front of the bag. So
right. So all I did was, poke my corners out nicely, just using some kind of tool that you have. Now I'm taking the raw edges from the opening, turning them in, and you can either hand sew that opening closed or just use fusible tape, iron it down. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to take the time to do that right now, but I would press my bag at this point on both sides. We're just going to pretend that I've closed that opening up. And then you're just going to go and get the zipper all the way opened and then turn it one more time.
And that's, oh gosh, that's so cute.
Right. And then you'd use your tool again, press your corners out or push your corners out nicely again, and then just give it a nice press. And the bag is done. And you can press over, this vinyl if you want to. You can use a press cloth. You can press it from the back side, but take your time and get your corners out nicely and press your bag, and it will just look beautiful.
I love that. That turned out really great. So, and how easy. We did it all right here. So really simple.
Right. Start to finish.
That's right. Beautiful. And so we do have a question about the Bernina hoop and press pads. And so I have a Bernina. So Sharon says she has a Bernina oval hoop. Which press pad size would she need to get? So we do have the Bernina press pads. The one that fits the oval is the 145 by 255 millimeter. And if you only have, that hoop, then that hoop and press pad is sold individually, but you can get bundles of these hoop and press pads as well, which I'll show you a little bit more about. So let me head under my camera if it's okay, Reen, and I'll show them that hoop before we get too far from that multi-needle hoop question that we had. And I'll talk about putting this top or bottom. So this is Dime's Snap Hoop Monster for multi-needle. Notice it looks exactly like the standard hoop that Reen was using as far as the attachment goes. It slides into the machine the same exact way. Just like the multi-needle standard hoops, it can be attached either direction. So if your project that you're working on, like Reen was, has a direction to it. Make sure when you take it off and you put it back on the right direction. Reen marked her stabilizer. I usually will put a mark over here and I line that up always on the right side, but whatever works best for you. So notice now my hoop, I have my hoop shield in place and the magnet is actually on the back. So for using multi-needle hoops, this is how the hoop was intended to be used. So you would take the magnet part and it would go inside of your tubular item. So like this bag here, I would put the magnet in the inside with your stabilizer. The stabilizer would be on top of the magnet. And then you would attach this to the magnet. And then you're going to just check, make sure you've got everything lined up there, pulled everything tight. And now you can see that this, if I hold it up, I have embroidery on both sides of my bag. That's why you're seeing the back of that stabilizer. But you can see the opening there. That's what slides over the neck of the machine. If you were to hoop this the other direction, well, first of all, you could not because these arms will not fit in this bag. It's too wide. And then because it would be inside of the bag, it would not attach to the machine. But if you are doing something that is not tubular, like I have an example here that I'm going to show you. Oh man, this is tight. There we go. And if you're doing something that's not tubular, let me flip this over so it doesn't magnetize on me. I'll show you this towel. So this is an example I was going to show you for using your hoop and press pads, but I'll use this towel as an example here. So I usually make these towel toppers and I put this elastic on the back to hold the towel. But if you're stitching on something that is not tubular, then you can use these hoops in the same fashion by putting your stabilizer down over the metal part, just like you would on the single needle, and then put this magnet on top. And of course, your stabilizer would be in place. So then now you can see my towel. Let me flip this around. My towel actually runs over my attachments that are going to be connected to my arm. So when you're quilting with your multi-needle, this is how I would attach my hoop because the quilt sandwich has to go up and over the arm. It can't go down in that tubular area. So, and now I know this is a lot of information. If you do not have a multi-needle embroidery machine, ignore this completely. But I don't think that we talk about our multi-needle hoops enough because the majority of everyone has a single needle, but we do want to show love to our multi-needle snap hoop monster users as well. So that is a tip for using it. If you're doing tubular items, yeah, I'd put it on the back, and I could put this on the back as well with this one. It's just a quilt sandwich I definitely would put on the top, but I could put my magnet down and then attach this on the top, and then that's going to be for my multi-needle. The same, either way will work on this towel. Of course, you would do a better job hooping. So what do you think about that, Reen? Isn't that cool that it's very versatile on that multi-needle dime hoop? So
yeah, that's great.
And then while I'm here, Reen, I'll just show a couple of more things on the hoop and press pads just to give everybody a little more detail. So it's not just these hoop and press pads they're an awesome product. They're not just specific to like the zipper bag that Reen created, but there are plenty of other projects that you work from the back that these are great for. This is one of the designs in the same zipper collection that Reen's using. And this is a border design collection that is the companion set to the sketch florals that Reen used on her bag. Also a collaboration Reen did with Dime. I put that same border on a little key fob. And even this example here, I actually had to work from the back of the hoop because it stitched both layers of my faux leather. And on this set here, you can see that I added the embroidery top and bottom. And of course, we've already seen how important it is to use that for a 5x7. But I also have another couple of examples here. Anytime that you're doing, like Reen said, applique, you know, a lot of times you can make applique freestanding to an extent. And these are two examples. So this is an applique just rounded square that I stitch these and give these away for gifts. I usually put elastic back here to slip the towel through, and I even will do a buttonhole or I'll put ribbon at the top. But you can see that the back of both of these are finished. So in this example, I definitely would use my hoop and press pad here. So here's my towel topper. I've started the stitching process and I'm ready to attach the items to the back. So my hoop and press pad, you can see through my stabilizer how that is filling the void underneath my hoop. And then I would place down my backing fabric here and then my elastic that I use, and I would just tape that in place, just like Reen was talking about using for her fabric on her bag. Just, you know, some little bitty pieces here to hold this in place, just to make sure that it's going to stay where I need it to. So it'll do a tack down, and then I usually pull my my tape off of the corners after the tack down, because then this will have a satin stitch on the back of it. But I usually do the same thing working from the back of the hoop. Also, if you are doing a project that has quilting, so I like to make little trivets in the hoop, and then I usually will piece it in the hoop, and then I'll add the batting and the backing. And so this is a really good example of this. So I've already pieced my diamond block here, and I'm ready to put the batting and the backing. So I would do the same thing. I'd flip over on my 8x8 hoop and press pad here, and then I could attach my batting and the backing just like that. And again, I always love to tape it in place just so that you don't accidentally get that to shift when you're doing your project. So just put a couple of little pieces of tape to hold it. And then when you're ready to go back to the embroidery machine, then you're ready to do that quilting through all 3 layers. And then I've got one block. This is also a great technique too for quilt as you go, because you can make one complete block and then assemble those blocks. So, and then Reen actually also, I know that she uses her hoop and press pads anytime she has a boo-boo. So we have our stitch ripper here, and some things can be saved and can be undone, right, Reen? And so this is just some text here. When you're stitching your design, if you have a mistake that you need to remove, this is another really great use of the hoop and press pads, because to get this to work, you have to press with, you know, not a ton of pressure, but enough so that these blades will actually cut through the bobbin stitches here in the back. So you definitely, and I just turn it on, and then I just press it down, and it's just cutting through those stitches. But you have to put a decent amount of pressure so that when you go to the front, those just pull all up just like that. So that's another really good reason to use the hoop and press pads if you're having to do any unstitching. Nobody likes that, but it does happen from time to time, right, Reen?
Right. You know, and I even use the hoop and press pad if I'm taking it out of the hoop, you know, and then I realize, oh, you know, there's a problem. Then just take, you know, your shirt or whatever you're working on and lay it down over the hoop and press pad. You know, it doesn't have to still be in the hoop to use the hoop and press pad.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I do, like you said, I use mine for just ironing next to my machine as well. So, so did you see any questions that popped up, Reen, that we might want to answer before we go, or go on to the next section? We're not going anywhere at the moment, but before
There's been a lot of things flying by. It's been hard to keep up with them.
So if we didn't get to your question, make sure that you ask it again. Put 3 question marks before you start typing the question. It helps pick it out of the comments, and so we can make sure that we answer it for you before we go. But let me talk about the hoop and press pads over here on my slide. So this is our featured product for today. So if you like the hoop and press pads, it's a great time to get them because they are on special. And Reen mentioned quite a bit of this throughout showing her bag, but they're a 1/2 inch thick of wool, and they have a non-slip surface on the back, so they're going to stay in place. And we've shown you several different things that you can use them for today. You can see how in this image and what Reen and I showed, they do fit inside of your hoop. So we do have different sizes, and I would urge you to get all the sizes for your machines, because trust me, you're going to go to use a hoop and you're going to wish you had that hoop and press pad. So you might as well get them when they're on special. So for the rectangular sizes, 5x7, 6x10, 8x8, and 8x12. So rectangular hoops, those would be your Brother Baby Lock hoops. This may fit some Pfaff and Viking. The measurements are on our site, and you can just double check the opening of your hoop. But we do have the oval ones for the Bernina machine. So we have the single oval of the Bernina press pads. And then we also have bundles of both of those. So you can get the Bernina oval bundle, which includes 3 sizes in that bundle. And also the rectangle bundle has all 4 sizes that I mentioned. And you saw Reen using hers that fit her multi-needle embroidery hoops, and that's a 5x7, 8x8, and an 8x12 in that bundle. So all of those are the special today. When you head over to our DZGNS to get your hoop pads on a hoop and press pads on the special price, make sure you choose the drop-down list and select which you want. You don't want to just add to cart, or it'll just add the default one, and you might be a little disappointed in what you get. So, but of course, if you ever have any issue with your order, our customer service team is phenomenal. So you can always reach out to them if you do have any issues. But hopefully everybody liked the presentation. I do have our on the house design that's coming up, Reen. I can't wait to show everybody what that is. But if you like this presentation, and want to see more, make sure you like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So watch this video of how you can do that.
In this video, we'll show you how to subscribe to a YouTube channel and follow a Facebook page. Let's start with YouTube. First, open your web browser and navigate to youtube.com. Once you're on your home page, search for Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. Click on it and go to the channel page. Once on the channel page, click the subscribe button. And that's it. You're now subscribed to the channel. Now, let's move on to Facebook. Once you're on your home page, search for Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. When you find the page you want to follow, click on it and go to the page. Once on the page, click the 3 dots on the right side and select the follow button. And that's it. Now you're following the page. Thanks for watching.
Awesome. So make sure you like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So again, today's special is on the hoop and press pads. That's our featured product for today. So make sure you check those out while they are on special. If you're buying a bundle, you are going to get free shipping. So make sure that you add that to your cart. Take advantage of the price. This month is also still Hoopapalooza. So we talked about the Dime Snap Hoop Monster multi-needle, but we do have snap hoops for the single needle embroidery machines. We also have our sticky hoop for use with adhesive stabilizer, all on special. Get free shipping on any order over 75. Use that promo. So lots of good savings. So so now, Reen, I want to reveal our on the house design. I know that you stitched some of these in the past year. And we love this program. So if you're new here, the on the house design is a free weekly design from Dime. And every month, Eileen uses one of those designs the last week of the month or last Thursday of the month and turns it into a project that she shares with you. These are available for a limited time. So if you like it, download it. They will go away most likely at the end of the year. So take advantage while they're on our site for free. Go to dzgns.com, and if you search free design, it'll get you right to them. Also, make sure you share your project with us. So hashtag Dime Sew Along, hashtag On the House, and or hashtag Exquisite Thread. We can find your design, and then we love to put it in our movie reel of all the things that people have made with our On the House designs. So let's take a look at this video of what everybody's been making with the On the House designs. love watching that. Such inspiration, right, Reen?
There were some great projects shown.
Yeah, I love that. And so this week's On the House is the cute little baby footprint. So, Reen, this entire month of June, we've been doing baby themed designs. And so this is another really cute, fun design. I can think of so many things to put this on for a great gift for a new mom
Adorable.
or grandma, even new grandma. That would be great, right? Isn't that cute?
It is. It's adorable.
So I love that these designs are professionally digitized and all stitch out beautifully. We always give you our recommended exquisite color of thread, but of course you can use any thread that you like. And this week it's two colors, the white and this beautiful pink, but of course you could make these in blue or any other color that you like. So don't forget to get your on the house design, cute little designs this month. And next week, Eileen will be back. I was filling in for her. She got to go visit her granddaughter, Reen. And so I know that she was there enjoying her time away, but she is back with you next week. So make sure that you join her and see what she has in store. She always has some awesome tips and tricks for you. And I too can't wait to see what she's got. So, Reen, I wanted to say a big, big thank you to you for joining me today. I always really enjoy sharing the screen with you, and I always learn something new from you every single time. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks for inviting me. I saw another question come in, if we could answer it real quick. So Leslie wanting to know about multi-needle machines. Do they have the stops, the designs, do they have the stops built into them? No, you have to put stops in. You can't really add stops into a design.
No, the machine sees it as a color change. That's what stops our single needle machines. And since the 10 needles blow through those color changes, then yeah, you have to tell the machine when to stop. So very good point, Reen, for sure. And then I did see a couple of other really nice comments that said great presentation. And then Elizabeth Culver says best stitch ripper out there from Dime, which I totally agree. It's definitely a huge lifesaver from time to time. So just want to say thank you so much to everybody for watching today. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation of Between Friends. So next week, Eileen will be back. And so I'll say bye for now until I see you again on Between Friends.
Bye.